No, Rex was the little blue-haired kid.
All right, well, who was the other one then? Marshall.
Yeah, like the husband. Maude's grandfather.
This character looks like him, but yeah, he looks exactly like the grandfather when he grows up. So this is 1960. They're in Rex's house. Maude is visiting. You're Mercia. It's cold opening.
Uncle Rex, Auntie Mercia has her leg. She's stuck inside the dishwasher. Oh no!
Oh, I thought these labor-saving devices were going to save labor. This is taking my labor.
Help, my God, my leg, please, someone, I'm bleeding.
I told you to use the stick if the cups got stuck at the back of the machine. Did you use the stick to get the cups out? Why'd you stick your leg in there, Mercia?
Thanks for all that wise help and hindsight. My leg is bleeding out.
Ding dong!
Maude, go get the door, please. Clunk.
Chink. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, Uncle Rex, it's Sid from next door. He says he wants his dishwasher back.
Have it.
Oh, I'm glad that you're not angry at me because this isn't actually our dishwasher. I just borrowed it from next door. I hope he takes you and your leg. With him.
I'd be much happier in Sid's kitchen. You are a waste of space.
Maude! It's a Maude Cast, Season 2. Strayed woman and granddaughter of a three-legged woman, confused by ethnic cuisine. Unfortunately not in the Tempest. From Amanda's evil twin, Laurie Goodman. She's knitting and stitching your eggs up. Maybe she thinks Ned is cuddly, but she's an amateur firefighter. Why did Maude Flanders' internet ban break up? What about that?
It was a cold open.
I was a cold was the open, dark was the night. So,
yes.
So the reason why I did that is because we're now getting to the stage where we can develop our TV show based on the Goodmans, and I want to do a segment later, if time allows it, called Developing the Goodmans. But for now, Nathan, Paul, yes. It's episode 12 of the Maude Cast. Who would have even darn diddly believed it?
Not me.
Hello.
Certainly not me.
Hello, good morning and Ned Clum. Welcome to the Maude Cast episode 12, brought to you by the Maude Casting Corporation, division of Dibney Multi-Global Conger Eels Incorporated. Sponsors: Lost TV show, Twin Peaks TV show, Vivacious, RuPaul's Drag Race Season 6 competitor, Cerebus the Aardvark, Scott Walker R.I.P., and Jacques Derrida, Jacques the Pen Derrida. No one's forcing you to listen.
The gang.
Do you want a Derrida quote?
Yes.
No one gets angry at a mathematician or a physicist whom he or she doesn't understand, or at someone who speaks a foreign language, but rather at someone who tampers with your own language.
Okay. The maths isn't really relevant, but I don't imagine Maude likes listening to people speak a foreign language in front of her. I think she thinks I'm being left out. So I would disagree with that quote.
I'd also disagree because classically people get very angry at people speaking foreign languages. People from Wigan who hear a foreign language, they first of all get angry that they're hearing the language, and then they get angry that they can't understand the language. Double anger.
Yeah.
I think Jared Derrida's well off with this one.
Yeah, no, he's talking at his ass this week.
Well, you know what the irony is, that the one last week that he talked about, like, I have only one language and it is not my own, it was written in English, which was his second language.
Interesting.
So there's some irony there.
So he has two languages?
Do you think he was joking?
Yeah, I imagine there's some wit behind it.
Let's chalk that up to experience and move right on to a fellow that we haven't spoken to for a couple of weeks. Our good friend, Uncle John Statman, he sent me a message last week on the answering machine. I don't know, do you want to hear it, or is there not enough time in today's show?
No, let's do it.
Beep.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. I'm talking like I got a hot egg in my mouth. They call me the number cruncher. And you two boys, the glasses one, the contact lens one, my nephews and nieces, you're all about the correctness of the stats. So fire it up, pop your Glocks, mouse cats meow. You know that cats have 26 teeth, but kittens have less teeth, sometimes 0. But kittens are born with teeth. You can put that in your show. Now let's get down to stats, because you're currently on the YouTube about 1,322, give or take. and I've been busy counting them by hand. But I can't argue, lads, it's diminishing returns. You're falling off cliff edge, but you plateaued low, a low plateau. You're not going to make no cash, but I like that you've explored into iTunes and you've uploaded 2 episodes. Very, very poor showing so far with a mere 4 downloads. Most of them probably by you. You're not going to make your money, but in a way that's good, because now Sonny Bono from 60s rock band Sonny and Cher, he owns your podcast because of that thing what you put on the end. So you might want to think about that and changing it. But you never get up to Sonny Bono's U2 level of money, playing stadiums and everything. Now, one thing I'd like to say is that my night watch job, no, I don't do night watch. Stamp does that, doesn't he, my friend from library? My night line manager job at Macaroni and Cheese Factory. Well, what I've done now is I've moved to days, but I noticed one area of factory was never working at night, so I've now opened up a nighttime bespoke artisan mac and cheese maker. So I sneak in at night with my mates. We knock out some artisan cheese, mac and cheese using their stuff. I can't see anything wrong with it. Other thing is, in 70s, they had that thing about dark and lonely water with that mystery figure what kind of murdered people and trapped them in like lakes and rivers. Well, I got a phone call the week from mysterious agent. I think it's MI5 or CI6 or something. They want me for do that. Don't think it's a joke. I think they really want me for do that. So in a way, I can't really do all your stats so good. So you don't get off me back and everything. Have a good day, boys. Love you. Look after your nans and mums. Beep.
Not a lot about Maude, but all stats really. But cats have teeth, and he said something else relevant that I've already forgotten. So good job.
How about the auditorium? Give me a number between 1 and... Oh, what are we on? 1 and 200 and something. 232.
200.
200. All right, number 200 on the auditorium. Psycho parodies. You mentioned a few weeks ago that Psycho, the movie, is parodied a lot, and we especially saw Maude peeping at Marge in a very Psycho-esque move. What other movie references, other than It's a Wonderful Life, do we see related to Maude in The Simpsons? Are there any? And if not, which ones would you like to see?
Good question. There's one, we might not get to it with the clips this time, but there's one in this episode that we're looking at.
Really?
But it might be there's a whole Terminator bit with them driving away from Homer with the golf clubs, and he sticks them in the back of the car, and they have to swerve around to get him off. That's all Terminator 2. And Maude is Sarah Connor. Yeah, with the metal cop guy. So that's this episode.
Nice.
And also, just to carry on the Hitchcock thing, the first episode of season 6, which we'll be getting to probably shortly, is the Rear Window parody, which is about where Bart thinks Ned's killed Maude.
Ah, yes. Good times. And which TV or movie would you like to see Maude referenced in, and what might that look like?
2. I would like to see Lost. I would enjoy to see Maude on the island, kicking back with Libby and Cindy, the 2 most placid, pleasant characters, or the Human Centipede. Oh,
or even Human Centipede 2, starring that chap from Wigan.
Yeah, but Maude would be the centipede maker, not the centipede itself. I assume that would be like Helen. It would be Helen, Marge, and Agnes at the back.
Now, it takes a lot to get me to shake my head in disgust, but you managed to achieve that a mere 11 minutes into a Maude Cast episode. So far, there's not only had almost no mention of Maude, but I was also frightened off every other person. So if you're still with us, good luck, because content's coming up real soon. I'm not going to mention anything about the Maude Flanders Hotcake Museum Internet Database knockoff theme park, etc. this week, because we don't have time, other than it reeks of milk at the moment from the fire that happened the other week. And I think we're going to be going to jail within the next 7 days. However, while we still have our freedom, shall we move on to, I'll give you a choice. Do we dive straight into content or do we do a Maude's diary first?
I think we should do content and then do a Maude diary at the end. It seems to work better at the end.
Okie dokie, once we've warmed up. So, clip 1. Homer and Ned are flipping through cable channels inside Ned's basement. Homer sat on the sofa with Rod and Todd, and he's disappointed, and Ned says, yeah, over 230 channels blocked out. Maude, our heroine, comes down the stairs and she says, okay, boys, time for bed, in a really thick accent, the thickest I've heard so far. Okay, boys, time for bed. And she's wearing a standard garb, bright pink shirt, bright pink skirt, pink vest, tank top, white shirt, pink shoes, with a slight heel. Rod and Todd shout, goodbye, Daddy. Good night, Uncle Homer. So, I've forgotten this show, but this is the one where they become super good friends, right, at the beginning, and then it all spirals out after that. Todd really is quite small. Roddy's really quite tall. It's not part of the scene, but it's something I noticed while watching it. Maude stands and watches the boys with her arms clasped in front of her in classic, waiting in church mode. She watches the boys run up the stairs safely. And that's it. That's clip 1.
Yeah, this is demonstrating her motherhood skills. It's up to her what's like. Ned's in the room and he doesn't tell them it's time for bed, which is quite odd, but maybe he's swept up in this new friendship. So Maude is. But again, Maude doesn't come down and chastise Ned and say, like, the hell are you doing? These kids need to go to bed. She just kindly tells the kids it's time to go, and they do it. Again, the Simpsons kids. Bart would go to bread, as we've seen.
Bart would go to bread?
Yeah.
I have not seen that, I don't think. Not for a long time anyway. Explain that.
And Lisa's, I think it'll come up because Maude's in the episode, but Lisa is babysitting Bart and she says, go to bed. And then he goes to the kitchen and sits next to it.
What's going on with Maude's accent? Why is it so thick in this one?
I don't know, but this is oh no, it's not. I was going to say this is the first speaking role for her this season, but it's not. Is it? Maybe it is.
I don't remember.
Because we had the Cape Fear, the gambling, Maude's sister.
Well, I guess.
So maybe.
Yeah, if she didn't speak last week, I don't think she did, then yeah, maybe this is it.
So the last time she spoke was the Marge going to prison episode.
Okay.
So maybe they're just taking some more time to define a character while the show's carrying on and getting more into the background characters. So maybe they said, okay, let's run with this accent. Because this is how she pretty much sounds here on out, I would say.
All right. But for sure, so what the Reddit user Termites Jump, that's not actually the name, but that's what my computer spell checked it at, Termite Jump, on a discussion that got quite in depth about the mouth movements of Ned and Maude Flanders. They came to the conclusion that Ned doesn't really sound Midwestern, but he might have a little bit in there. But Maude for sure is from the upper Midwest. They come to the conclusion. That's Michigan, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, or Wisconsin, or Iowa. So I think we're in the right area. So good work. Was that all of your own list?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it was a combination of liking both Maude Flanders and the TV show Fargo and the movie Fargo.
The movie Fargo as well, great movie. I've not seen the TV show, but I hear great things. What does Maude feel about this friendship at the initial stages between Homer and Ned?
I think at this point she's probably just not really thinking about it because this is quite late on in the episode when she pops up, to be honest. Like, they've already been to the baseball game, and so I think at this point she's probably just thinking, this will pass by quickly. This isn't going to last, because she doesn't speak to him.
No, she comes in and she just says goodnight, boys, stands there placidly blinking with no emotion, and then leaves the room. So
she also isn't annoyed when Rod and Todd call him Uncle Homer. She still looks quite like, she's just watching them off to bed.
She's just thinking, like, what is this madness that's unfolding in front of me, and what am I going to do about it? And she, in true Maude fashion, is withholding external judgment, but inside, I feel there's probably some storms and rages going on.
A tempest of Maudes.
Tempest of Maude. Clip 2. So Marge Simpson, she's on her hands and knees with the trowel. She's getting into the gardening, and Homer decides that this is a good time for him to head over to Ned's house We could do a bird's eye image of the Flanders table, all four of them. Now, we've seen face forward Maude a few times, but we've never seen top of head Maude before. But I have to say there's no real revelations. Is kind of what you could expect. She doesn't have a bald spot or a tattoo or anything wild on the top of her head. So relax, everyone. There's a big ass turkey in the middle of the table. I think it's a turkey. There's some mixed veg, aka salad, to the rest of the world. Some pink things, maybe sausages, maybe bacon, I don't know. Plates are empty. I want to point this out, and I'm sure you noticed too. The plates are completely empty at this point. Eyes closed in prayer. This is a long one, so jump in. Just hold up the one finger signal if you want to stop me at any point. Eyes closed in prayer. Ned's leading. Does Maude ever get to lead? What would she say? I don't know. What Ned says is, bless the grocer for this wonderful meat, the middleman who jacked up the price. There's a flower painting behind them on the wall. Is that bought from Marge? I don't know. A gift, maybe. We see Homer at this point sidle into view. Okay, that hands up. You want to stop? Okay.
Yeah, the hands up. The only thing I have to make of note so far is that it looks like Ned's the only one actually praying. Like Maude, Rod, and Todd don't have the hands together in prayer. And I also think the food, the plates are empty because they haven't finished praying, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, none of them seem to be doing the traditional, hands together clasped, other than Ned.
Well, you know what? Something goes AWOL in a moment regarding those empty plates, because we see Homer J sidle into view, and he pokes his head through the window as Ned is finishing the prayer. Ned says, let's not forget those determined but human boys. Humanist? Hardworking? I don't know. Spell checks changed it to human boys. I don't. He says, that's those human boys over at the slaughterhouse. But anyway, he thanks the boys at the slaughterhouse. Homer says, oh, may I join you? And climbs in through the dining room window without waiting for an answer. Dips his finger into something on Todd's plate, which now has food on it. Grabs a turkey or chicken leg from Maude's plate, which is now full. Explain. Maude, looking up in some surprise, gasps. And then Homer grabs some bacon off Flanders' plate.
Yeah, it's a good scene. I like Homer. There's a lot of good Homer things in it that are completely like unself-aware from just having there's no like external thought of climbing through the window or that being weird. He just climbs through the window. It would be weird to just walk in without being asked through the door, but he climbs through the window. And the way he until he eats the turkey leg,
yeah, it's
I really
like drinking a cup of Earl Grey tea. Yeah.
I think maybe when there was a close-up shot of Homer, and in that moment the Flanders family realised what was about to happen, so they crammed as much food on the plate as they could, but it still did not work because he went straight, instead of going for the food that was left over, he went directly to the children's plates.
Yeah, it's very good. So next clip continues with that. A few minutes later, Homer's just standing there, maybe a few seconds, I'm not sure, standing in the Flanders dining room, standing. He doesn't sit or, say budge up or anything. Maude's looking more concerned and surprised than anything. Ned says, Homer's asking Ned to do some stuff, and Ned says, tonight's the night I do my charity work, and Homer says, yeah, the judge made me do that once. How long was Maude starts to looks like she's visibly shaking at one point. I don't know if that's the animation or whether your phone was shaking when you were making it, but I don't think so. I think Maude was visibly shaking at that point.
It sounds likely. This is just an extension of the last clip. I just stopped recording too early, so no time has passed. It's the same scene. Yeah, she's probably shaking with rage, I can imagine, because at this point, this is the turning point for Ned. Like, this is where Ned starts to think this isn't ideal. And you can see why.
You can see why. Your next door neighbour just decides to invite them in through the window to your evening meal and take things off your plate. I've had friends and relatives who maybe I've done this, stepped over the line in terms of what's expected, but not to these heinous degrees. It would make you question as to whether having Homer as a friend is better than having him as an enemy. And it seems to suggest that no, better to have him as an enemy.
Yes, that is the ultimate conclusion. But at this point, Ned's probably talked Maude around to thinking we can, like they did with Herb, where they cleaned him up. Homer's in on us now. He likes us. This is when we strike. Because again, as we'll see in the not too distant future, it only takes them fostering the Simpsons kids for maybe three or 4 days before they tried to baptize them.
Oh yeah, they're very good at getting people into the church, and so maybe you think that they've seen like, this is painful for us, but this is a chance to get him and save his soul, save Homer's soul.
Yeah.
And that is a soul in stark danger. They've already had one chance with the car crash, with the train, jumping to the train with her car and risking life and limb to convert him. Maybe this is a little bit easier, although equally painful.
Yeah, I would say this is an extension of that idea. They want to, this is he's in with the Flanders, so this is the time to strike.
Yeah, save his earthly soul. So clip 4, we flick to the Simpsons living room, and Homer's now defending his new friends in front of his family. So Bart says, the Flanders are a bunch of geeks, man. Homer is angered by this and he shrieks, the Flanderses are not geeks. And he looks down and then thinks, oh, well, Rod and Todd are. I'm surprised he knows their name, but Rod and Todd are. And the wife has a thing for me, but hides it behind a mask of low-key hostility. And then he rubs his chin in thought.
Yeah, I like several things. I like that he's instantly defensive. I like the word Flanders is. It's much better than just Flanders.
Plural Flanders. The plural Flanders. Each Flanders needs to be pluralized. So I think grammatically he's on steady ground. Yeah,
100%. I like that he's defensive to the point of there's shock in his voice, but he instantly, when he thinks about it, he thinks, oh no, yeah, Rod and Todd are little creeps. Which at some point I think every member of the family realises on their own at some point that Rod and Todd are little creeps. And they're not too bad for now, but they really start hamming that up later on. I watched one the other day where one of the new seasons where Rod and Todd just say, let's play the Frozen game, and then just stand completely still as the day completely goes by. So they've definitely weirded them out. But he calls them Rod and Todd, which is interesting. But then he doesn't know Maude's name. Or if he does, he doesn't care enough to use it.
Yeah, he's nailed it though. Except for the wife having a thing for him, he's nailed the low key hostility.
I agree that she 100%. That's what she does with everybody in town. But I like that Homer's read it as she has a thing for me when she's. I don't think that's some kind of secret theory that we're going to be looking at. I think she's just repulsed by him, and the facts are there for that. However, I'll drop in a spoiler for a mystery episode that will come up later, but I watched a season 7-ish episode last week, and in a moment of celebration, Maude hugged Homer.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that if Homer gets treated with the same kind of level of low-key hostility that everyone else in Springfield gets, he's getting off lightly because he has committed far more crimes than, say, Hans Moleman or Apu. Are they treated with low-key hostility, or are they treated as in a friendly manner?
Well, she doesn't seem to treat anybody she doesn't have a best friend. There's nobody that she's let in. So yeah, I think the low-key hostility, even Helen, I imagine there's sort of a frenemy.
There's something going on there, but surely if she goes to the store, she's nice to Apu, or she's not a mean woman, she's not a villain.
No, I would say she's I think you're right. I think low-key hostility for the people she doesn't particularly like. She definitely has it with Marge, but with maybe not everybody. She's a very polite, kind person on the surface.
I don't think it takes much to get on her wrong side, though, maybe. Although, to be honest, the Simpsons do push it pretty hard in this episode. So if you were still on someone's right side after the madness that goes on in this, then really that is a very forgiving person.
Yes.
Clip 5. So we went to eight clips in this one, I think, or was it 7? We went to 7 clips in this because she's in it a heck of a lot. Clip 5, Flanders and the Simpsons, they're all kind of squeezed into Flanders' car. Ned's driving, Maude is right next to him with a visibly angry face, a visibly angry face forward. You got Todd squeezed in, and then Homer's somehow also in this massive front seat that has enough room for 4 people. Back seat, we see Bart and Marge. I'm guessing Lisa's behind. I don't know where Todd is. I don't know where Rod is. Is he in the back seat?
Yeah, and I only noticed this for the first time doing these clips. He's in the boat.
Oh, Rod's in the boat.
sat in the boat as it's being towed. I only noticed when I was sending you the clips.
Wow. They are quite happy to put their children in danger. Not only have they done a high-speed chase jumping through a train, showed no concern when a serial killer was after them, and now put one of them behind them as they drive down the motorway at a top notch.
It was Rod that got relegated once again, proving that Todd currently is the prominent Flanders kid still.
Todd dog, as we like to say.
Yes.
But soon the tables will turn and Todd will no longer be the Todd dog, but Rod will be the Todd dog, and then it will become the Rod dog.
Yes, exactly.
Everyone in the car other than Homer is angry. Homer is oblivious, as is the joke in the entire episode. Homer is oblivious to the pain he's causing to other people. He pulls out a cassette. I brought my rapping Ronnie Reagan tape, and puts the cape in the cassette player. Sounds a lot like Mr. Burns, and he's just going, well, and the joke being that Ronald Reagan said well a lot, and Homer says, well, he did say well a lot. Homer folds his arms, job well done, and the journey continues with everybody glaring angrily at Homer J. Simpson. Maude, pitching. Maude, face forward, just glancing out of the corner of her eyes at Homer, just tight-lipped, looking super weird because characters just don't look right face forward. And she is not happy. She looks a lot like Margaret Thatcher. Imagine you could put Thatcher in there. When we're doing it, feel free to put Margaret Thatcher in that screenshot there. And I think that would sum it up real well, the Iron Lady.
Yes. She looks, this is the most sort of off, well, maybe that bit in the audience that we looked at early on with the President musical. But this is like the most off Maude she'll probably ever look for this amount of time. She doesn't, like, the nose is nothing. Looks like no one's tried.
They've not referenced any earlier Maudes to try and work out, although her nose is quite dainty in this episode. Has her nose got smaller?
No, it's always quite, it just looks really like, but as a fond drawer of face forward Simpsons, I will say that I don't really know what to do with a nose, because it's basically a small triangular point from the front, and you can't really draw that in 2D unless you do like an upwards, or it has to be an upwards or a downwards triangle, and they both kind of look not great.
Well, the thing is that later we're going to be having a look at some of your face forward Simpsons, and we can make that decision for ourselves. My
last point about this clip, well, she's seething with rage, which is interesting to point out. She's but so is everybody else. So she's not the odd one out here. She's just, she's clearly more willing to show it when everybody else is angry too. Because if everybody else was smiling in that car, I think we wouldn't be dealing with the low key hostility we've been hearing about. But this is just hostility.
Hostility.
And my last point.
It's justified. It's justified hostility, and she's well in line with everybody else. And Homer's absolutely oblivious to it as well. So, harmless, pointless. And
the last point is, I think this is how I found out who Ronald Reagan was as a child.
That's good. So, over the last few episodes, you've learned who Jimmy Carter is, and Ronald Reagan. I'm pretty sure you got to learn about Nixon through The Simpsons too.
Any president pre-George Bush too. I'd say 80% of the information I have about them is from The Simpsons. William Henry Harrison.
Died in 30 days. I mean, with that, we can learn a lot about American history from just modding it up, and I hope we can. So apparently, the kind of Ronnie Reagan Rapmaster thing is based on the cartoonist Gary Trudeau, who's famous for the cartoon Doonesbury, which is not particularly funny. When I don't think I've ever read it and found it amusing. But he did a rapping Ronnie Reagan series of like videos and clips and stuff in the 80s. And so this is referring to that. And it ain't much better than Homer's cassette, to be honest. If you click on the link and watch, maybe I'll put it in the show description. It really is just someone doing a fairly poor impression of Ronald Reagan and rapping about how he's supporting the inner cities. I guess it's satire. I don't know how sharp it was in those days, but I don't think even then people would have been rolling in the aisles at the level of satire of Ronnie Reagan.
No, he wasn't a man to be laughed at.
Well,
He was a hater.
He was also a figure of fun because there's that bit where he tries to describe Princess Diana as Prince David. Is there that one? The suggestion may have been that before he left office, he left his marbles. But who knows? Clip 6, onwards and upwards. We threw in 7 clips because it's a doozy. 6 clips. The ladies, that's Marge, Maude, and Lisa. They are at a campsite unpacking food onto a picnic table. And I don't know if this is the first time we've ever seen just the 3 ladies together, and we haven't really yet seen Maude and Marge interact directly, other than when they've had other people around. So this is the first time I think I've seen the 2 of them interact without too many other adults around. We got some hoagie sandwiches. We got plates as usual of indeterminate stuff in the true Simpsons style of stuff that just looks like multicolored mush on the table. Marge says, "I hope the boys got the plates ready." Maude stood arms side by side, just kind of leaning forward like a tiger ready for action, staring motionless at Marge. And she says, "I hope." So Marge then says, "I hope the children like my special fruit punch." And Lisa jumps in. "We got the recipe from the fruit punch advisory board." Maude puts her hand to her bosom like oh dear, and says, "Oh gosh, I'm sorry," before turning like super smug look on her face and all coy. "Our boys don't eat sugar." Marge stares blankly at her, dumbfoundedly. "Why would the advisory board give us bad advice?" "No sugar," she says forcefully and sternly. Is it even true that the boys don't eat sugar? I don't know. But the Simpsons ladies gone sideways at each other, and then Marge does that that she seems to do every time, every interaction she has with Maude.
Yeah, all good dictating. I think this is the first time. It's the first time Maude and Lisa have had any interaction at all, I think. I can't even remember Maude and Lisa being in the same frame before.
Wow.
To my knowledge. We've seen a bit of Maude and Marge, but the husbands are usually present or someone else like Helen.
Yeah.
But she's doing the low-key hostility thing with the, "Oh gosh, I'm so sorry." She's not sorry. She just wants to tell Marge that her children are better than hers, which she does, and then she has no qualms whatsoever. It's not like we're Ned a second time. Like, for example, I think like the next scene is Homer. Ned's saying we're leaving after the spoilers food fight. Ned says we're leaving. Todd's got like zesty lemon in his eye or something like that. And Homer says, "Can I take the speedboat out for one more run?" or something, and Ned sort of deliberates and says, "Well, we're in a rush," and Homer just shouts, "Too late," and runs off with it. Whereas Maude here, if that was Maude there, she would have angrily said no boat, and it would have zoomed in on her face. She's sticking to her guns.
She stood up for herself. This is probably the first time in the episode that one of them has said no. However, if she had continued this, they probably would have got away with with the madness that went on in the rest of this episode. They probably would have got away with it had she stood her ground more, because she acquiesces to the rest of the stuff, and they sit at the table in the next scene ready to eat. But yeah, she's got her eyes really narrow. She's got a really stern Clint Eastwood look, and she throws it straight at Marge and Lisa. And Marge and Lisa are taken back a little bit. They know this woman, maybe we don't want to mess with her. Yet, very, very quickly, they go back on that decision, and they straight up mess with her. It's kind of like there was a chance there where they could have made us think that the Simpsons weren't quite as bad for doing this stuff to the Flanders, because the Flanders kind of deserve it. But I think this is the only scene in the episode maybe where we get that message. The rest of it's like the Flanders do not deserve this treatment from the Simpsons.
Yeah, out of the 4 of them, Maude is the only one that kind of deserves it. Maude is the only one out of the 4 of them with any sort of hint of badness in her, really. Like, Ned has his crazy moments, but they come from like an internal mental breakdown place, whereas Maude is just sort of a bit mean when she wants to be. Low-key hostility is going to be a good phrase that's going to be sticking around. But yeah, I don't think Rod and Todd do eat sugar, because you see Bart give them pixie sticks in the next scene or whatever, and say there's no sugar in pixie sticks, and it just it just F's them right up.
Well, they do the sugar as drugs thing often in The Simpsons, right? So there's Pixie Sticks, there's the Disco Stew one, and then there's the Slushy episode, at least that I can remember, where they're like, hey, let's just, whenever we want to do something that looks like we want to show somebody off their head, we'll just give them sugar and pretend that sugar has that massive effect on them.
It's obviously very overplayed as well, because I can think of at least 2 more examples where they did that, where they did like a train spotting thing, I think, when they came to England. Bart and Lisa eat like English chocolate, which is notoriously sweeter and better, and have a whole like train spotting, like montage. And then there's one with Homer where he eats it's like a McRib, which is not technically sugar, but food still. He eats like a McRib, and there's a whole what's that film called with Jared Leto?
The Joker.
Yes, that one. No, the drug film.
Requiem for a Dream.
That, yes, there's a whole like parody of that to do with like McRib. So
Man,
that's
a grim film. That's
yeah.
Maybe they can sponsor us. Maybe we can be sponsored by Requiem for a Dream. There's a great folk horror-ish film called Requiem for a Village from the late 70s, I think. I don't think the two films have any connection, but it's a faux documentary about a village that's kind of being renovated and updated, and it looks like it's actually pretty straightforward until like zombies come up at like 80% in the movie, and then just kind of amble around the village as zombies, and then it goes back to being normal. It's super weird. Good one though, Requiem for a Village. So I don't want to hark on the sugar thing too much, but the Maude is insisting on no sugar because it's not a religious thing, right? It's a health thing, would you say? Or just kids shouldn't have sugar?
Yeah, I think it's just a health thing. I think she is just, in many ways, she is the embodiment of a Springfield Gwyneth Paltrow. And I think this is, yes, Spraltrow. I think this is just one of those many examples of, again, I think they just like to portray Maude as, and again, this, no disrespect to Gwyneth Paltrow, but somewhat joyless.
Well, I saw Gwyneth Paltrow in Iron Man, and she smiled in that a few times, and she even got a superhero costume in Avengers Infinity End of the World War. And she's married to that bloke out of Coldplay, but now they're divorced.
Yes, I do like Gwyneth Paltrow a lot, and I think it's because she bears some similarities to Maude Flanders in her. Yeah, she's the world's minor character.
Baby. Multi-billionaire rock star wife Gwyneth Paltrow, Iron Man, female Iron Man. She's got more leading parts than Maude ever had. Maude was never a female Iron Man. Although I do have a question. I have a question in the auditorium about what role she would play in the Radioactive Man universe. So
she does. I think there's a whole bongo comic thing, I remember this one from like being a kid where they all do like a superhero, like everybody has a superhero identity. I'm pretty sure Maude got one.
All right, that's cool. Well, if I get my way, we'll be doing a bongo comics episode in the not too distant future. So eyes peeled, phasers on stun, that's all I can say. Clip 7, we're on the home straight. They're in the forest, this is the best one, isn't it? They're in the forest, they're all sitting around now, all the Flandersers and all the Simpsonsers are sitting at a wooden picnic table, Simpsons on the left, Flanders on the right. Homer holds up the pink drink, which I guess is the fruit punch, and shares a toast to the coming together of the Simpsons and the Flanders. And there's some good bread on the table and more of that slop. If this were a more perfect world, we'd be known as the Flimpsons. Come on.
So I was going to say that's the best line of the episode, other than "breathe through your damn mouth."
Well, I was expecting him to put his hand on Ned's shoulders and say, "Isn't that right, Barney?" or something like that. I expected a Flintstones joke because I thought that's where they were going with it.
No, I think it's just a very easy, putting the two names together.
Something we would never be guilty of. Spraltrow. Missed Flintstones gag is what I said here anyway. Homer puts his hand on Flanders' shoulders and says, "Here's to my best friend Ned." Ned, Homer's a genuine chap, and at this point he still feels like he's done no wrong. Ned stands up, resigned to, with an empty glass, and says, "Well, sir, my entire family is very touched." At which point Homer shouts, "Food fight," throws some pink gunk into Flanders' eye. Flanders recoils, Bart joins in. Homer grabs a handful of apple pie, probably Maude's homemade apple pie, and slams it into her face from 10 centimeters away, maybe, with glee on his face. Maude is horrified. The boy stared wide-eyed in terror, arms raised. Maude has her arms raised and falls back, almost identical to how she did when she, spoiler alert, dies in season 11. Marge and Lisa join in as the Flanders attempt in a futile way to protect themselves from the barrage of food.
Yeah, it's great. This is just, again, Homer. They really, like, I don't know how to explain it, but the whole Homer and Ned, the way he treats him, like, this is one of the best episodes where they've really, like, milked it for all it's worth, and just every opportunity they have. Like, Ned already doesn't want to do a speech. Like, he's already phoning the speech, and then Homer, he's not interested. I don't know if it was a setup for the food fight, or if Homer just impulsively in that second decided to start a food fight, which I think that's more likely. I don't think he's tactile enough to think, okay, I'm going to get Ned to start a speech and then I'm going to hurl food at him and his wife. And he really launches it at Maude.
He really does. He is inches away from her face when he pulls her own, probably quite hot apple pie, they're probably not, been out of the oven for hours, and slams it into her face, and she recoils, and stars come off her face in true cartoon fashion. She got the star lines and everything.
I think Marge and Lisa clearly join in because of the last scene. Like, they want to now take her down a notch.
There's some justification there, isn't it? And what's going through Maude's mind as she sees Homer pick up that apple pie?
I don't think she had time to react before it. It's the same setup as the T-shirt cannon. She didn't have time to do anything about it. She was already being pelted before she knew what happened, but luckily this time it was non-fatally.
Do you think we can treat this as foreshadowing, horrific foreshadowing of her impending doom?
Yeah, we'll add it to this. Can be the first of... Yeah, the first... he imagined Ned dying, didn't he, in his wishbone. But, there's a whole, thing of Maude... You could probably do this with anybody if they had killed them, but there's a whole subsection of Maude, teasing her death or the death of the Flanders before she actually dies. So this could be number one of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I was lost in thought there mostly because it's perplexing that you would invite somebody on a trip and then invite them to take a speech and then hammer their family with food. This is the last straw, right? Surely Maude stands up at this point and makes the family go home.
Well, yeah, they do. They are leaving in the next scene, but I don't know who made that decision, and I don't know how quickly. I don't know if it was just stand up in the middle of the food fight, we're leaving, or if some time passed and they continue to be a little bit pleasant. I'd imagine just from the fact that Todd seems to get some kind of lemon in his eye, I imagine that happened, and they all rushed to gather around Todd as the Simpsons carried on throwing food, and they just made a run for the car, probably.
Yeah, I tell you what, Nathan, I imagine when she got home, her diary got a hell of a beating that day. I bet she unleashed some Maude rage on that diary that day, but maybe we'll never know. Maybe that page is not in the diary we own. Maybe there's multiple volumes. I don't know. All right, well, that's it for this half. This is a twofer. This is the first episode that's had so much Maude Flanders that we've had to split it into two. And that was a big chunk there. That was 8 clips, 8 juicy clips where we learned a lot. Anything to add?
No, it's a good, this is obviously the most we've seen her, just from pure volume of clips. But it's not the most we'll ever see her, I don't think, hopefully, otherwise we're peaking here. But the second half, she's way more calm about things. So I don't know what happened to her to give her that perspective, but she from this food fight onwards, she sort of is to not really minding that Homer's around.
Really?
I suppose actually he isn't around them that much after this, other than, because he tries to, the Terminator thing happens, doesn't it? So she doesn't love it, but...
To be honest, I haven't given myself any spoilers by watching the other clips you sent me, so getting on them for next episode 13 of the Maude Cast, when we hit episode part 2 of, what's this episode called?
Homer Loves Flanders.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can imagine we'll call it something like Homer loves or hates Maude Flanders, and she kind of hates him too, justifiably so. But shall we move on? Time is short. I think we've got time for a page from Maude's diary, if you got a page there ready chosen. Do you have one ready?
Yeah, I do. It's not about the food, sadly.
Oh.
That is it.
Oh, that's
I think that will be more pertinent after the whole episode, so I'll save that.
All right, well, hit me with a Maude Flanders page from her diary.
Yes, this is about the time that Homer became a food critic.
Oh.
It's 9 a.m. I've been up for 4 hours. The house is spotless. I think today we're going to go for a meal somewhere, so I'm going to look in the papers now to see if any critics have reviewed anywhere nice. I'm back from reading the paper. You are never going to believe this, Maude's diary, but Homer Simpson is a food critic. I'm going to tell everybody I see, even though it's probably, it's already not a secret, but I'm going to tell everybody I see, and I'm going to trust his word, because as much as I hate him, he knows food. The food that he threw at me that time, all those years ago, the apple pie, was delicious. And furthermore, I don't mind if I get a little chunky. It's due time my mother always told me to put weight on, so now is the time. And I'm just gonna go and read this French comic that I've forgotten the name of, but it's my favourite comic, Ciao MF.
Wow, there's a lot there. One thing I was going to mention is that actually when she first comes down the stairs and goes to the basement, she actually looks like maybe she's put a little bit, I didn't want to say anything, for me, it's neither here nor there. But I did notice maybe when she comes down the stairs, maybe she's putting a few pounds there. But this is well before that, isn't it?
It's after.
Well, this is after.
This is like season 10.
Oh yeah, I'm confusing by using the word that without explaining what I'm referring to. That you just read is well after this thing that I'm referring to now, but but the thing I'm referring to is well before page of the diary you've just read.
Yes.
Now you've drawn Chunky Maude in your Face Forward Simpsons. Now we're not going to get to it today. Time has run away, but we did a few episodes ago. We saw Chunky Maude, or have we not seen her yet?
No, I think we did.
Yeah, we did. We saw Chunky Maude with her. Yeah, Chunky Maude with a big bread. You said it was bread. I thought it was a Pop-Tart and a dog. So I guess that's around this same era, isn't it?
Yeah, that was from this episode.
And she's put a lot of trust in Homer J. Simpson there. And even though the pie that he threw in her face was probably made by her.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe she didn't think of that in the moment.
In the moment, lost in her dreams of eating in a fancy restaurant that Homer J. Simpson, with all of his haute cuisine knowledge, has told her. Well, that was a brilliant page of the diary, and I'm glad we got a little bit of an insight into how Maude chooses what food to eat when they go out and about. Was it a special occasion, do you know?
She didn't mention it being, so maybe they were just treating themselves.
Treating himself to some squid's legs on toast, no doubt.
She didn't. I believe that's one of the last times you hear her before her voice. She has some kind of radical voice surgery.
Really?
For the last 4 episodes that she's in, she has a different voice.
Yes, I heard about this. But let's not give too many spoilers. It's time for a song. Who's starting?
You.
Alrighty. Let's take it away. And 1 and 2 and a 3 and a 4. Okay, boys, it's time for bed. Ooh, North Dakota, South Dakota.
Nightline, Kingsman.
Good night, Uncle Homer.
No sugar.
Oh, how do I feel about this friendship between my husband and that doofus from next door?
The Flanders.
Bird's eye view of the Flanders table, empty plates.
Gwyneth.
Coming through the window, sticking his fingers in Todd's plate.
Dainty turkey eater.
Bless the determined humans of the slaughterhouse.
Gwyneth. Marilyn Goodman.
I'm rubbing my chin at the low-key hostility.
The Flimpsons
and Rap and Ronnie. Narrow eyes. I said no sugar.
Sugar.
Pixie stick.
Food fight.
Cisco DTU.
10 inches of apple pie.
Logging town in Washington. State. Chaz Bobo.
Graz F. Internet warlord.
Yeah.
That was episode 12. Yeah, I think we nailed it. There was distortion, possibly on both of our ends for the entire episode, so hopefully that sounds great, because people like Jimi Hendrix pay good money to actually put that on, so for us that's even better. And that's the end of the show. Bye everyone.
Bye, see ya.